In 1987, Dr. Bruce Kaplan, a practicing dentist and chiropractor, was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. But his symptoms started long before that. As a child, he fought a severe sugar addiction, regularly hiking to the local grocery store to gorge on candy in an attempt to self-medicate a profound, lingering fatigue. When patients like Dr. Kaplan ask their neurologists how food impacts their condition, they almost always receive the exact same advice: eat a healthy, balanced diet. That guidance is technically correct, but clinically useless. Multiple sclerosis is an umbrella diagnosis covering a wide range of varying underlying pathologies. What triggers a massive flare-up in one patient's nervous system might be completely harmless to another's. When standard guidelines fail to account for that individual variability, the patient becomes the only reliable source of data. For Dr. Kaplan, this meant treating his own body as a 45-year laboratory. Dr. Kaplan structured his life as an N-of-1 experiment. His method relied on systematically stripping away single variables over decades to isolate exactly what biological inputs his specific system could tolerate. His explorations started almost immediately after his diagnosis. He dove heavily into Ayurvedic dietary principles and learned transcendental meditation at a small clinic in California. These early practices yielded minor improvements, but they made one thing clear: uncovering the exact nutritional baseline his body required would demand decades of continuous trial, error, and immense patience. He tested nearly every major dietary framework. A strict raw food diet lasted only a few weeks, leaving him constantly hungry and depleted. He enthusiastically adopted the Walls Protocol, a plan requiring 9 cups of fruits and vegetables every day. The nutritional logic was solid, but preparing and consuming that much produce proved physically impossible for someone managing severe MS fatigue. He measured his blood ketones during a ketogenic phase and tried daily celery juicing for years. Neither approach yielded the clinical improvements necessary to justify the immense effort. He did find one clear early victory: eliminating gluten. Removing wheat provided measurable relief and highlighted gluten's direct role in driving intestinal permeability and his systemic immune dysregulation. Yet after 45 years of disciplined effort and constant dietary adjustments, his underlying systemic inflammation remained stubbornly active. In 2022, a blood test revealed severely elevated uric acid, leading to a painful gout crisis. His neurologist recommended allopurinol, a standard drug that notoriously triggers an acute gout attack when first initiated. Unwilling to take a medication that causes the exact condition it aims to treat, he negotiated an attempt to lower his uric acid through diet first. Following conventional medical advice for gout, he went strictly vegan. His uric acid remained high. He pivoted to a vegetarian diet, and his levels still wouldn't budge. After a severe allergic reaction to the allopurinol forced it off the table entirely, he was out of standard options. Faced with an allergic reaction to medication and the failure of plant-based diets, he turned to a protocol that contradicted nearly every standard recommendation for gout, removing plants and relying entirely on ruminant meat. He landed on the Lion diet. This is a strict zero-plant elimination protocol, where meals consist entirely of ruminant meat, mostly beef and lamb, along with salt and water. The core theory behind this approach examines plant defense chemicals. Because plants cannot run from predators, they evolved sophisticated, microscopic chemical arsenals, like oxalates and lectins, specifically designed to deter or harm the animals that consume them. In highly sensitive individuals, these specific compounds accumulate in human tissues, irritating the gut lining and triggering aggressive, localized immune reactions. This condition reveals why the universal recommendation for high fiber often fails in MS. The disease frequently causes neurogenic bowel dysfunction, meaning the GI tract lacks the muscular motility to clear added bulk. For his specific autoimmune pathology, plant foods and fiber were never the cure. They were an unrecognized daily source of severe systemic damage. The clinical results of the Lion diet were immediate and measurable. He lost 40 pounds, his uric acid stabilized to normal levels, and he hasn't suffered a single gout attack in 2.5 years. More importantly, it directly impacted his MS progression. He achieved a meaningful reduction in his overall inflammatory burden, making his difficult days far less frequent and noticeably less severe. This diet is not a cure, but the biological signal is clear. Even a minor departure, like eating a single piece of lettuce, can trigger an immediate physical exacerbation of his symptoms. These results are unique to one patient, but they illustrate how personalized elimination can identify specific inflammatory triggers that broader nutritional models tend to overlook. The relationship between food and autoimmune disease is powerful, heavily individualized, and still largely ignored by standard neurology. Isolating those triggers requires moving away from the social and sensory experience of eating for pleasure, prioritizing biological function as the primary metric for every meal. Standard dietary advice will rarely solve a complex chronic illness. Your body already knows exactly what it needs to function. Your only job is to relentlessly experiment until you finally learn how to listen to it.